We're not even a month into 2024, and by the looks of things, we're not off to a great start in the aviation industry. On average, we've seen a new incident every 3 days this year. However, the silver lining through all of this is that the majority of these incidents resulted in minimal casualties, which just goes to show that new safety training and regulations is shining through, with pilots for the most part bringing their passengers and crew to safety. In today's video, we're going to be going through some of the main incidents that have occurred this year. Starting off on New Year's Day, we head to Salt Lake City International Airport in Utah, where a Delta Airbus A320-100 was taxiing out for a flight to San Francisco. Meanwhile, in the terminal, a 30-year-old man ran through an emergency exit and ran down to the de-icing ramp where this A320 was being de-iced with engines running. The man climbed into the engine intake of the A320 and was pronounced dead on the scene. The specific cause of death, while it may seem obvious, has not yet fully been disclosed by police. The next day, on January 2nd, we head over to Tokyo's Haneda International Airport, where a Japan Airlines A350-900 was landing on runway 34 right after completing a short domestic flight from Chitose. Meanwhile, a Japanese Coast Guard de Havilland -8-300 was instructed by ATC to hold short of the runway. However, due to a misunderstanding, the -8 aircraft continued onto the runway while the A350 was landing. Unfortunately, the A350 had already touched down, so it was too late for the aircraft to go around, and the two aircraft collided. The A350 traveled another 3,000 feet before eventually coming to a stop on the grass next to the runway, where the aircraft was then evacuated. 5 of the 6 people on board the -8 unfortunately died. However, out of the 379 people on board the A350, no one died and only 14 people were reported to have injuries. While this was an incident that should have never happened in the first place, it just goes to show how safe the A350 is. The A350 first flew in 2013 and first entered service with an airline in 2015. This is the A350's first reported incident, and after colliding with another aircraft, it still came to a stop safely, allowing everybody to evacuate before the fire spread. And now on to the most controversial incident of 2024. On the 5th of January, we're heading over to Portland International Airport in Oregon, where an Alaska 737 MAX 9 was departing for a flight out to Ontario. When only a few minutes into the flight, one of the aircraft's emergency exit door plugs flew off the aircraft, resulting in an explosive depressurization. The aircraft landed safely back at Portland. However, this has led to an investigation into the 737 MAX and even beyond. The MAX 9 is a longer variant of the original MAX 8, and with the extra length comes extra passengers, and when you add extra passengers onto an aircraft, you need enough emergency exits to evacuate the aircraft in under 90 seconds. Because of this, the MAX 9 features an extra emergency exit door near the rear of the aircraft, but this is only needed if the aircraft is carrying close to its maximum capacity. The 737 MAX 9 can seat up to 220 people, however not all airlines operate the MAX 9 at its maximum capacity. Airlines like Alaska and United operate the MAX 9 with only 178 seats, mainly due to their larger first-class seats taking up more room in the front of the aircraft. Because these airlines fly with less passengers, this means that the MAX 9's extra emergency exits aren't required to evacuate the aircraft in under 90 seconds, so door plugs are installed in their place. It's one of these door plugs that caused the explosive depressurization on board the Alaska 737 MAX 9, and it was found that the bolts that keep these door plugs in weren't torqued to the right level. Because of this, over 170 737 MAX 9s with these door plugs have been grounded until this problem can be fixed, and more recently the FAA have instructed airlines to inspect even the older generation of 737, as the 737-900ER features the same emergency exits as the 737 MAX 9. However, while certain 737 MAX 9s are grounded for the meantime, the 737-900ER just requires an inspection and hasn't yet been grounded. On the 14th of January, we're heading over to the Black Sea, where a Russian Air Force A-50, which is an AWACS variant of the IL-76, was performing a reconnaissance mission in the midst of the ongoing Ukraine war when it was shot down, killing everyone on board. The Ukrainians claim this is their own doing. However, Russia have since claimed that this was a friendly fire incident. On the 19th of January, we're heading over to Washington Dulles International Airport in Virginia, where a Southern Airways Cessna 208 was was forced into making an emergency landing on a highway due to an engine failure shortly after takeoff. Southern Airways operates short commuter flights out of Washington Dulles, and this one in particular was heading out to Lancaster in Pennsylvania when the engine failed only a couple minutes after takeoff. Despite the harsh weather conditions at the time, everyone on board the aircraft survived with minimal injuries. Then on January 19th, we're heading down to Miami International Airport in Florida, where an Atlas Air Cargo 747-8 was spotted with flames coming out of one of its engines as it suffered an engine fire. Despite this, the crew managed to return safely to the airport shortly after. On the 21st of January, we're heading over to Afghanistan, where a Russian Dassault Falcon 10 was making a flight from Utapao in Thailand to Moscow in Russia, with stops in both India and Uzbekistan, when the aircraft disappeared off radar near the Afghanistan-Pakistan border. It was assumed that of the 6 people on board that everyone died. However, the Taliban Civil Aviation Ministry, and yes, I'm also surprised the Taliban has one of those, said that 4 of the 6 people on board had survived with quoted various injuries, and the remaining 2 bodies have since been recovered. Again, on the 21st of January, an Air France A350-900 suffered a hardtail strike while operating a flight from Paris to Toronto. Luckily, no one on board was hurt, but the structural integrity of the aircraft was compromised, needing heavy maintenance before it can return to Paris. On the 23rd of January, we're heading over to Fort Smith Airport in Canada, where a Northwestern Air BAE JetStream 32 crashed shortly after takeoff. This is so far the deadliest civilian crash, with 6 of the 7 people on board losing their lives. And finally, on the 24th of January, we're heading over to Russia, where we have the deadliest crash of all, as a Russian IL-76 was carrying 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war, 3 passengers and 6 crew when it crashed along the border of Russia with Ukraine. While this incident is still fresh, it's believed that everyone on board died. And that does conclude all the incidents of note in January of 2024 so far. And with that, I want to thank you very much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.